And good Saturday to you, meteorologist Joey Sovine here at the Live 5 Alert Desk. And do want to give you a first alert on the very latest on what's going on in the tropics. Likely to see things change quite a bit over the next couple of days. First up, we are watching that tropical system starting to take shape. Now, what we're looking at this morning is a disturbance that's been in the northwestern Caribbean right now, kind of residing right between the western tip of Cuba and just to the west of the Havana area, and then towards the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So those two that are just called out right there. Notice how this storm system, those showers and storms denoted by the red, the highest cloud tops associated with them, kind of reside in between those two land areas. So that puts it over some very warm, deep water. In fact, that's some of the warmest water in the entire Atlantic basin. So that's going to be the fuel. That's one of the things working in its favor today. Now, we do have some upper level shear here. If this was a little bit farther south, there's actually no shear right in this area, but strong upper level winds right now in that area. So that will limit the strengthening and organization a bit, kind of holding it in check, making sure it doesn't get too strong too quickly. And right now, most computer models are showing that this does develop into a tropical depression and then a tropical storm, and could briefly strengthen up to maybe Category 1 strength. But what we know is that computer models, when you're talking about tropical systems, they do a little bit better job with the forecast track than they do the intensity. The intensity, notably over the years, has been pretty poor as far as what the computers are showing now. Right now, they're showing basically a tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane approaching the Gulf Coast. Now, let's talk about the possible spots where this could go down the road. And this is just one of the latest runs, in fact, the very latest run of the computer models. And what it shows is that this disturbance, if you just take this as kind of written in sand kind of deal, with the grain of salt perhaps would be a better way to put it, that this comes on shore somewhere in this area. Now, what we had earlier this morning were all these models kind of clustered up in this area. So there's been an eastward shift. Now, one thing we know is the shifts don't stop here. It doesn't mean that the next run will look exactly like this, and then the ones tonight, and then the ones tomorrow, and then the ones all the way through Wednesday when this would eventually start to come on shore. So everything will change with this. We're just kind of in a wait and see. First up, we have to have this storm develop. So it doesn't have a well-developed area of low pressure, that center that we use as a starting point. So we can't tell you the end point 5 days from now if we can't tell you where it started. So that's step one. And these computer models, when they get released and you start to see them out 4 to 5 days, remember, we have that first step, and we'll try to figure that out first, and then we'll kind of figure things out. Because if this storm develops a little bit farther to the east, if it develops more over in here, over some of these storms over the next couple of days, if they happen to persist there, then all these lines are off to get started. They're wrong from the get-go, and then maybe the influences would take it more in this type of route than what we're seeing a little bit farther to the north right now. Or likewise, maybe it develops farther to the west and doesn't feel a trough that's coming into the east coast as much and goes a little bit more west. I say that because a lot of people will take those computer models as like, as the truth and the gospel, and as far as where this is going now, because the computer models show it's going here. Keep in mind, they always change, especially when you're talking about a storm system about 96 to 120 hours away from making landfall, if it does. So the track and the strength, some unknowns right now. Let's go back to that real quickly. Could it bring us some rain and some breezing conditions? That's a possibility. You have to remember, if a storm makes landfall in the Gulf of Mexico, it has to come across the land to ever get here. So that means that these storms would be in a weakening manner. A lot of different scenarios and outcomes. We're not going to get through those at this point in time, just because it's basically a waste of time, because we don't have a clue where this is going to come on shore. We have a general idea, but we don't even know when it's going to form to start. So we'll take, once again, step at a time. Step one is just waiting to see where this develops. Next name, by the way, Idalia. That is the name that we're going to most likely likely use with this. We do have a couple of disturbances out farther in the Atlantic Ocean, which technically could jump this storm to get that I name, but most likely not, with just a low to medium chance of development over the upcoming days. Idalia is likely to be this storm that we watch coming up through the Gulf of Mexico. Now, you may notice that spinning thing right there in the middle. That's a tropical storm. In fact, that's likely to become Hurricane Franklin later today, as it's finally gotten its act together. Now, this could come close to Bermuda, but this is not going to come close to the U.S. Could bring us some rip currents as we go into the upcoming next week, some increased swell out there. We'll have to watch. We have king tides, so astronomical tides up next week. On top of that, if we have this storm coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, adding a little bit of extra water, it only takes a foot or two, and you start to get into some territory where we have a lot of problems out there with the docks and a lot of flooding into roadways in our vulnerable areas. So that is something we'll watch for next week as well, even if this isn't a significant storm for us. So that's the very latest from right here at the Live 5 Alert Desk. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Saturday. We appreciate you, and we'll keep you updated throughout the weekend right here at the Alert Desk more often as we are tracking, once again, this tropical disturbance that is most likely soon to be Tropical Depression number 10, and then eventually Idalia in the Gulf of Mexico coming northward as we head into next week. If we were to see any impacts, probably in the Wednesday, early Thursday time frame. Once again, it's too early to tell if or when we are going to see that storm head our way. All right, we'll keep you updated with the very latest. Don't forget, download the Live 5 First Alert weather app. You can get the latest always there while you're on the go. I know it's a busy weekend. You'll be out and about. Just check back in on what's going on with the tropics. We'll have it updated for you right there at the Live 5 First Alert weather app. Have a good day.